so happy that you all came here with me on today to sit at this table and talk about life. I just feel now is the time to speak on life and how we have dealt and how we have overcome and how we have total victory in our walk, right? Do you guys agree?
Yes, I agree.
All right. The word says that we are overcome by the word of our testimony, and I just believe that when we share our story, women are going to be healed, women are going to be saved, delivered, and set free.
Yes, girl, they are going to be healed for sure. And one thing that I know is that we have dealt with a lot, and we will have complete victory, and so will they.
They sure will. Being a single mom is the most challenging job that you can ever have, right? You agree?
I agree. Totally. 100%. Totally.
It is forever changing. You play many roles in the lives of your children, and so the most rewarding thing I feel that we are doing is celebrating our victory and talk about our victory, and actually coming out of the situation from being bound to being now pure, clean, renewed, having complete victory, and showing that new life and that new greatness to our children.
Yeah, that's complete victory.
Yes.
I totally agree. That is
Complete victory.
Yes.
All right, so we also know that Psalms 23:5 says that he will prepare a table in the presence of our enemies. And an enemy I know we all have in common is the enemy of abandonment, right?
Yeah.
There are others like loneliness, frustration, the list goes on, rejection, right?
Yeah.
But the abandonment one, I feel like we all share that one in common, correct?
Definitely. I agree. Definitely.
Exactly. So we probably thought when we were going through it that we would never come out, right?
Oh,
It was
couldn't see our way out.
Right. Couldn't see our way out, right? So, but in this place, in the presence of our enemy, speaking on our enemy, but not giving it the glory. And we're going to give God all of the goodness and the glory and the joy because we have overcome. Right?
Yeah.
So, Erica, you were once married, right?
Yes, I've been married twice, as a matter of fact. And the first marriage, it ended from infidelity. The second marriage ended from domestic violence. And then later, I found out that there had been infidelity there as well. So I was heartbroken. I was truly heartbroken. And some of the things that I learned, oh my goodness, it's so valuable for other women to know, who may be facing the same type of thing that I was facing. Because after my last divorce, I was completely devastated. I was devastated. I was hurt. I felt like a victim. I was broke. I looked around and I had 4 children by myself. I had a sick father at the time. I had no job that was making enough money to sustain us all. I was working as a daycare teacher and making minimum wage. It was really, really, really tough. And I'm so grateful that along came this wonderful word, because I was at a point of suicide. I was at a point of not actually taking my own life, but I remember distinctly praying, Lord, take me out of this. Lord, stop this misery. In other words, Lord, I don't care what you have to do. If you do have to kill me, kill me. That's how I felt because the pain was so bad. And so I remember praying that, and I was at a very low place in my life. Maybe some of us have been there. I don't know, but but I will say that the word came. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and she mentioned that I needed to hear this sermon that one of our pastors at our church that they preached. And so I went back and I watched the sermon, and it literally spoke to my spirit. And from that point on, I started going to that church. And what I learned and how the Lord began to change my life and how he began to speak to me, it's invaluable. So basically what I learned is that I had to begin living holy. I had to begin
good.
living
That's
holy.
good.
I had to begin. I had to begin seeking after the things that God wanted me to seek after. To put those things aside that were distracting me. Those things, those flesh things, such as trying to find a husband so very badly that you can't focus on anything else, that that becomes the most important thing. Honestly, nothing should be more important than the Lord. So once I got my priorities together, I looked around, I said, okay, I have these 4 children, I have my dad. At the end of the day, this is my responsibility. Right. And so the Lord really showed me that once I dedicated myself to Him, once I put all of my effort into being the best servant to the Most High God, that is when He began to change my life. And so I went from being completely broke to now I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life. I went from not having a house, because I lost my house in the last divorce, to having a house. I went from not having a car, because I lost my car in the last divorce, to having 2 cars fully paid off. I had lost my career in the first marriage due to stress and trauma and drama. Then turn around, I have a fabulous career now that I love. Not only that, but the Lord has blessed me in the area of entrepreneurship. And then when the word says that He will bless you and your children more and more. Not only that, my children now are entrepreneurs. My daughter, she braids hair for money. It's a little business. And my son, he creates musical beats. My father is doing better. It's like the blessings of the Lord just begin to rush towards me.
I think we can all agree, Erica, that you have complete victory. And you have gained so much strength. I just think that you have complete victory. Angela, you said you were a single mom as a teenager, but now you have taken on a role as being a single grandma. Or Nana.
First of all, no one would ever guess that.
Grandma.
So can you walk us through and tell us how you have victory over this?
This has been an extremely long journey for me. I had my first child at 15. By the age of 21, I had 3 children already. I made so many sacrifices to be a great parent. I sacrificed my education, I sacrificed relationships, I sacrificed opportunities. So when those things began to diminish out of my life, the only place I found myself was drowned in my career, trying to provide and take care of the 3 responsibilities that God had given me. With that being said, just as a single parent, you're the only one at home. Right. So you miss out on a lot of opportunities because you're trying to work to provide. So for me, it was all about chasing that dollar, and God provided. He opened the door where, He gave me a brand new home for me and my children to live. Brand new cars were given to me. There was points in my life that I didn't have money. I didn't have good credit. I didn't have anything. And God always, opened doors of opportunity for me to walk in so that things could get better in my finances. He's always given me extreme favor when it came to people. A lot of times people don't realize your favor and your next move in God is actually connected to people.
That's right.
And He always hooked me up with the greatest bosses, that advanced my career so that I could make the 6 figures that I was desiring to make to sustain a family. So it was tough, but we made it through. And what people don't realize, if you don't deal with generational curses, they're going to continue to follow.
That's right.
They're going to continue to follow you. So I am called to be the deliverer to my lineage and my family. So when I didn't handle those situations properly, it showed up in the life of my daughter. So she ended up being pregnant at 17, and so she didn't want to be tied down to a responsibility. I didn't know that God was calling me to that assignment. 2 years before I took on taking care of her, I constantly had a dream almost every night that I was taking care of this baby that was mine, but it wasn't mine. I knew in the dream the baby wasn't mine, but there was such a connection with this baby that I was thinking, I was like, well, I don't know how this is going to happen, but maybe my husband going to have a baby, because I physically couldn't have any more kids. So when God gave me Robin as an assignment, to, nurture her and, put her in the right environment, I said yes. And so in saying yes, I found myself, number one, being obedient to God, and obedience opened up the doors for all type of blessings to show up.
That's good. Yes.
So for me, it was all about putting God first, accepting the responsibilities that He had placed on my plate, and then more importantly, just constantly, dealing with my flesh, making sure that I walked in complete holiness and consecrating myself before the Lord on a continuous basis.
So God, He will give you another chance to get it right. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And I think that we heard that in both of you guys' testimonies so far. Now we're going to go to Kamani here. Your situation is a little different. It's not every day that you speak with someone that has lost a spouse and have had to raise a child alone. Not just alone, but you never had a chance to grieve, and now your child is an adult. And so can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, just talk about your victory in that for me.
Wow. Going through that, being so young and having a son, I remember when his father, Charles, was in this accident. I prayed. He was in the hospital for 15 days. And I remember praying and asking God, like, Lord, I don't want to be a single parent. I don't want my son to be the statistic of what these young men are in this world. And it's no offense to my family. I saw it a lot through my family, just like Angela talked about the generational curses. I was terrified because I knew that if I didn't have his father there, I knew I wasn't strong enough to do it. So for 15 days, I wasn't grieving, I was praying. And when he finally passed away, I remember I could never grieve for myself. I grieved for my son not having his father. So while the last 13 years, I've never had a chance to think about myself in the grieving process. It's, oh my God, my son doesn't have a father. He doesn't have anybody to go to when he has problems. And this makes me really emotional because I remember growing up without my father, and that was I felt like I had a void missing. And for my son to have to experience that was the hardest thing for me. Not that I couldn't deal with the fact of raising him. It was that he didn't have anybody to turn to when he needed something. And the mentors, they lacked. Even with me getting in the church and trying to get my life right with Christ, it still was hard because some of the men, no offense, I couldn't find anybody that my son could really relate to and talk to keep him in line, that we can say, okay, well, I've been through this, Charles. Let me show you how not to make the same mistakes. So it was more of I believe, God told me that He equipped me just recently because my son is 21. He's about to graduate from college. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you. So just to know that when he graduated high school, he had a 3.98 GPA. He's in college with all A's and B's. He's at the top of his class. He's doing that without a father. I didn't think that was possible. But I know with God, everything is possible. Everything is possible. So just to go through that. And I remember being at a point where my son was struggling. And I was so angry. I was like, oh God, Charles, why aren't you here so I can yell at you or throw him over there to you? And I didn't have that luxury. And just like Angela talked about with having 3 children at a young age, she had to work. And she couldn't be home with her children. My mom did the same thing, being a single parent with 4 kids. And when Charles lost his father, I promised that I would be there for every game, everything that he was doing just so he'll know I was there to push him to continue to go through, because I think it made me lazy because I didn't have anybody there to support me and to push me through. So every football game, no matter where it was, every debate, every basketball, every pep rally, everything that my son was involved in, I made sure I was there just to make sure he had the support that he needed as a parent. And just like Angela, God put me in a position to where I had jobs that were flexible. I would work all weekend to make sure during the week I was free to do every single thing. So I gave up my whole life just to support my son and everything he needed. But it was so worth it, because now the fruits of my labor, the things that I sacrificed over those years, my son is able to see all the things that I didn't get to experience. So it's such a blessing just to be there.
That's good. That is such a blessing to hear. And now he's older and he's in college, and you're doing well too. So let's go ahead and give God praise for what we have heard so far. God is so good. He is so good. And I think just all of us just talking about our story and how we have overcome and how we have victory just, helps other people. It's going to help other women.
And I believe the fact that we are all sitting here together and able to hear other stories. Me and Angela have walked by each other, hugged each other in church. I don't think I knew the extent of everything that she's been through. And to know that Erica went through all of this, for me, it's a blessing, because it lets me know that no matter how good you look, you don't really know the story behind everything. We smile and we look cute. I love to dress up. So Sundays, I am so dressed up. But if you really knew, that was just a snippet of my story and a snippet of Angela's and Erica's. And it's like, if you really knew all the things we went through, for us not to be bitter, angry, frustrated, and just backbiting. And we're in our right mind.
Our kids are healthy.
And we're smiling, and we don't look like we've been through anything, but we've been through a lot. And I'm just grateful to hear it. I think it's going to change the way I interact with everybody. I think it changes everything for all of us.
Because I think what's one of the things I constantly struggle with is people making their own assumptions about who I am based off of fashion, my possessions, or anything that I've accomplished. You don't know that I'm straight out of, one of the worst areas that I could possibly be raised in Miami. My bloodline is terrible. There's addiction, crack addict. I have 2 immediate family members that passed away with HIV, full-blown AIDS. Like, my bloodline, the enemy just took, control because of some evil altars that were set up due to a lack of knowledge in my family line. But, like I said before, God is calling me to be the deliverer. And because of that, it takes so much prayer, so much, fasting, so much consecration, and I didn't understand the extent of my assignment when it came to my family and my bloodline until I began to dedicate my life to God again.
And I just have to say, my testimony or my story is similar to all of you all's. I have a little bit of everything. I'm a mother of multiple children. I have 3. My child's father, my oldest kid's father, is deceased. He was actually murdered. So we didn't even get that chance to actually grieve. We didn't get a chance to grieve. We didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. He was cremated, so we had nothing. We just knew he was murdered, and then that was it. I've been in situations where I've lost a lot. I had a good career when I first moved here, and I'm slowly but surely getting back into things, but I think my victory comes with just surrendering my life. So when Alice was born, her dad actually left her on the porch.
Wow.
He left her on the porch. I was on my way to go get her, and he put her outside on the porch. Jesus. And
wow. It's okay.
Yeah, we definitely have something in common because how I ended up taking care of Robin was my daughter dropped her off at a fire department, and I had to go pick her up.
Yeah. So he did that. And so once he did that, I felt like I had to have someone, right? Because I knew from that day forward that he would never, ever see my daughter again. And God has like been dealing with me with that or whatever, like today. But when he did that, I put up this big wall. I put up a wall. I said, somebody's going to be their father. And I ended up in this relationship with this man. And because I was so blind and I had this wall up, I thought the relationship was smooth, y'all. I thought we was going to get married. Like, his family was involved and all of this stuff. And it wasn't so. We were together, and I started going back to church. I was raised apostolic, so I knew having a child out of wedlock, I knew that was not the thing to do, but I had 3, so I thought that I could never get back into the church. I thought God hated me from like the ends of the world, so I sacrificed being in this relationship over my children, essentially. And then I started going to church. I started being on the choir. I started like giving God my all. And so me and my kids almost lost our life in a gunfire outside of my lover's house. Wow. And I say he's my lover because it wasn't really no connection there that that we were going to get married. It just was blind, like everything was blind. And so God told me not to go back, but I didn't listen.
Right.
I went back. Right. And when I went back, I was deceived. He lied to me. I saw the evilness in him. I saw it. And I was scared for my life, y'all. My kids don't even realize why we had to run out of the house. And so he was sitting there with his shotgun and a dog, pit bull, and I was scared for my life, y'all. But I heard God say, go. If you don't go, you're going to die right here. And he showed me a quick flash of how I was going to be burning and how my children were going to suffer and how I was going to physically die and spiritually die. And so I was like, no, this can't be. It can't be. So I grabbed my children. I act like we were just all going to the car. I threw my kids in the car and I sped. I ran red lights to get up out of where I was at, and I've not looked back since. I have not been back. It's been 3 years, and that's how I'm able to sit here with you guys at this table to talk to you about the goodness of the Lord, because I should not be here. My kids should not be here, and I'm just so thankful to the Lord to be able to sit here and talk about it with you guys, and I'm just praying that this is going to help somebody. This is going to help that teenager that's facing the same struggles that we face with either having a baby or not wanting a baby, or the baby's father is just nowhere to be found. You do not have to live in mess. You do not have to live in your situation.
And you don't have to live in fear. If you are in a domestic violent relationship, get out of it immediately.
Yes.
Don't waste time. And a lot of times we stay because we think financially that's our way to live.
But do you know that same day a lady died at the hands of her husband? The same day I left, when I got home that morning, on the news, a lady died the same exact time God told me to leave. A lady died in the same exact town by her husband. And that could have been me. That could have been me on the news, and I'm just so thankful to God that it wasn't.
It could have been me. It could have been me.
But God has been so good, and I just am so thankful, to be able to sit and talk with Kamani, with Erica, with Angela, and even myself, even hearing myself talk about things that I went through that I had never even shared before. And so I'm just praying that this helps and encourages someone. Definitely. And that they even see God through their situation to get out, because even though it is a mental thing, you still, like, God never leaves you. Even though you're in the world and you're sinning and you're doing all of these things, God never left me.
Yeah, he's married to the backside.
He never left me, and so that's how I was able to hear him when he told me to go. And so I just thank you guys for coming and sharing your stories with us and the world.
Thank you for having us.
So, thank you.
My name is Kimoni, and I have victory over fear.
My name is Erica, and I have victory over unforgiveness.
My name is Tashana, and I have victory over rejection.
My name is Angela, and I have victory over abandonment.